1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. This doesn't get counted. And when you're ready to start again, just pull it and undo it. Put that off to the side to lose later. You can also, if you're in a pinch, use something else to clip it. All right, so we're going to consider this row 1. So I'm going to write it down. Row 1. Now, to go up to the next row, we have to create height. To create height, I'm going to do one more chain. Boom. Okay, so we've been going like this. We have this one chain. I want you to, this is the tricky bit, and it might take a little bit of work. You want to go to the second chain from the hook. So the one you just created right here, you're not going to touch that. You're going to go into this one, right here. And I'm going to let go of the long string and just hang on to this right now. I'm going to pull this back a little bit. It's going to create a big loop. That's okay, because you don't want to lose that. And what you want, this stitch is made up with a V on the top. All right, what you're going to see on top of your chain are a series of V's. Okay, each of these V's counts as a chain. So I went and I made a bigger one here so you can see. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then you have the big loop that you don't count. And the big loop is where your crochet hook is living right now. So when I say you're going to go through the second chain, you're not going to do this one, you're going to do this one. So on this, it's not that, it's here. See the V? There's one side, there's the other side. Here's our illustration. That's the V we're going for. What I want you to do is you're going to take this hook and you're going to go under this and under this. This, the one that's on the bottom, is going to stay underneath. So, all right, so we've established, I'm going to pull on this a little bit so you can see better. That's the first V. That's the second V. That's the one we want. That's the V we want. And I'm going to flip it over so you can see the other side. The side that we don't want, you can see just a little row of bumps. See them? They go down the middle. That's the underside of the stitch. You don't have to worry about that yet. This is a beginner thing, and the underside of the stitch is just for getting your crochet hook on the correct part. So here's our second V. I need to go underneath. Woo! Okay, I need to go underneath that and that. It's a little tricky. This is the trickiest part of a new crochet project. You have to persevere, stick with it, be prepared to cry a little bit, step away, come back. All right, so how I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna fuss with it with my nails a bit. This crochet hook needs to fit underneath this, so I'm gonna stretch it out with my finger a little bit and slide it underneath. It's under one. Yay, we've got one. Now, how I know I've got it in the right spot is it's not falling off. If I stuck it too far, it has nothing to grip onto. All right, so remember, we're doing the second one. I'm gonna get it under that first one again, first side of the V. Boom. Now, you have to kind of manipulate this so you can find the second part of the V. It's right there. And I'm going to try to use my nails to manipulate it so I can get under there. Ah! This is why we left all that space, y'all. If we had made these really tight and not left space, this would be a much more daunting process. All right, so do you see? I am in between. So I've got the two parts of the V on top. On the bottom, I just have that one bump. Okay. I'm gonna give everybody a minute to find where this is. Feel free to stop the video, hunt down this V. It's the second one. You can still see the other one right above it. So this is the second V. You're sticking your crochet hook through the top part of the V. Doesn't move around anymore. You can't stretch it out. Not much, at least. I'm gonna take it out, because remember, in order to find this, we took it off this, which is kind of counterproductive. So I'm going to take it out. I'm going to do it very gently because I don't want to tear at the yarn. And look, it kind of left a hole for you to find again. See, you can easily see where that is going to go back in. So be very gentle. Now, we have this loop. We have our chain. I am going to stick my crochet hook through the back of the loop like that. I'm going to gently hold it and tighten by pulling on this, the yarn. You see how it's getting tightened? I'm not pulling it really tight. I'm not going like that. While that's very satisfying, it doesn't help you get into that space we just created. So I'm going to loosen it up a little bit. I'm going to find the second chain again. I'm going to create actually a little bit more space on there. Second chain's right there. Remember, we did it before. Go through the first, back up a little bit, use my fingernails, because why have fingernails if you can't use them for important things like manipulating yarn? Ta-da! So I can tighten this up just a smidge. I'm not pulling tight and just making the loop cooperate. So what you're seeing now is the top of the V is on top of your crochet hook, and you have this loop as well. You can tighten it up, loosen it up. I like to have it about like that, okay? Now, we're gonna do very similar to what we did to create the foundation chain, the chain stitches. So we just created 20 chain stitches. Then we created one more chain stitch for height. Then we put our crochet hook through the second chain from the stitch, put it through the top, and now I'm going to kind of hold that down at the top of my finger, like I did with the chain stitches. Yarn over. Got that? Yarn over. Now, if you pull hard, look what's going to happen. Well, that doesn't help you very much. It doesn't keep that on the stitch. So that's why I'm holding it with my finger. I want to kind of keep this that way. Okay? I'm going to hold it flat with my finger, yarn over. We're not pulling, because if you pull, it doesn't work. So flatten it. Whoops. Flatten it out like that. Make sure that knotty thing is on the back side of your hook. Hold it down. Take your long string, yarn over. So you have to keep a little bit of tension here. Again, I'm going to just kind of loop it around my finger and hold it out loosely to the side, just a smidge of tension. I'm going to also pull on this length of chain stitches we created. And look, did you see I pulled too hard and it went away? So let me put my finger back on top, yarn over, hold on here, pull down, keep this finger here. So you've got tension in 3 different spots. You've got your finger on top, you've got your fingers pulling down a little bit on here, and you've got something keeping tension on the long thread. This takes practice. You don't have to loop it around your finger. You can hold it with maybe a couple fingers down here. So I've got my pinky and my thumb. I'm also going to try to pinch this one in and hold it the same way, but you definitely need to have a finger here. Now what we're going to do is, the reason we're pulling on this long chain is we're making space. So we need to pull this sucker through now, and we need to keep this yarn on the hook. This is where this hook part's really important. It's going to go through. Did you see that? I'm going to go back in just in case. All right, let me do it again. We've yarned over. We're keeping a little bit of pressure here, a little bit of tension, here, and we're holding this still on top. We're going to pull a little bit to make some space. We're pulling through. Whoop, whoop. Do you see what happened? I lost the tension and it came right off. You have a couple options. You can just kind of try to slide it back on, which, hey, that worked. Or you can say, okay, I don't think that worked. Pull it off. Pull it back through. And start over. You're going to have to go through the stitch again. Let me go under that V stitch. Okay. I'm going to yarn over. I'm holding the tension on all 3 spots. I'm going to pull it through. That's what it looks like. Next thing I like to do I picked up this finger. I'm going to hold it on both of those stitches now, move them down a little bit, make some space, yarn over. Let's get my yarn. Yarn, yarn over. And as I yarn over, you'll notice that I rotate this crochet hook. I personally like to rotate my crochet hook towards me and down when I pull through. I think it makes it easier to slide through the gap underneath the stitch rather than trying to pull it through like this, which would be very difficult. So I yarned over, and I find it easier to yarn over when it's up. And I'm pinching the stitch down here on this flat part, which makes it easier to rotate. So I'm holding here, I've yarned over, I'm going to pull it through these two loops. And it's a little tight, so I'm gently manipulating, don't force it. You see it coming through the first loop, woohoo! Keep going, gotta go through both. You've made it. And that is your first single crochet stitch. So that was 1 of 20, right? We've got 19 more. Let's practice that again. We're gonna go to the next one. So you can see that stitch is occupied. Something's going on in that V stitch. You don't want to have anything else in there right now. Let's go to the next one. Gently manipulate it with your fingers so that that crochet hook slides underneath the two. Now I've still got one loop on my crochet hook. I'm going to use my finger to hold that, everything that we've done to the right of the crochet hook. I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to make sure my crochet hook is facing down or towards me. I'm pulling on this chain to make some space. Pull it through. Now we've got 2 loops. I'm going to pull them down with my finger, yarn over. And once you've yarned over and you're getting ready to pull through, you don't need to hold on to this anymore. You were holding this back so that your yarn over would work well and not turn. I like to hang on to this bit with my thumb, and this is my 3rd finger. Hanging on to that, pulling up on my crochet hook to make some space, pull through. 2nd crochet, single crochet done. Let's do it again. Okay, we've got 1. We've got 2. All right, so we've got 1 on the hook. We just went underneath the 2 V stitch. The two sides of the little V. All right, now make sure your fingers are all deployed in the correct positions. I use one finger to hold this steady and keep all the finished work from this row on the top of the crochet hook. Keep my chain down at the bottom of the crochet hook. I'm going to yarn over. Put some tension here, put some tension here. Manipulate this down a little bit to make some space. We're going to pull through. I'm going to use my finger to move these 2 back. We're going to yarn over and pull through. That's another single crochet. So essentially a single crochet is you put it through the top 2, both sides of the V, you yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So in a single crochet, there's 2 yarn overs and 2 pull throughs. All right, let's keep doing this. We have to make it all the way to the end. Here's the next one. I'm putting the crochet hook through the top 2 parts of the V. Oof, make it fit. I'm holding down the finished work at the top of my hook. I'm yarning over. I'm going to keep a little bit of tension on my long string and on my chain. I'm going to hold this down so it doesn't spin around on me. Yarn over, pull through. Come on, baby, pull through. Ooh, that one was a little tighter. And that happens every once in a while. That's why we're trying to really gauge on that starting foundation chain. We're really being attentive to how far apart we're allowing the loops to be. Yarn over, pull through. You'll notice, look, when I pulled through, a little bit of the string didn't work out. You see that? I think I can just pull my hook back and stick it through that as well. I'm going to try that. You have to be delicate about this. Nope, didn't get it yet. There you go, it's on there. All right, so we're going to go through the top of the next V, hold it down, yarn over, pull through, hold this down, move it back a bit, yarn over, pull, keep a little tension on the long string, a little bit of tension on your foundation chain. I got confused. That's not good. Okay, so I did my yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. There we go. And as you're doing this, you can visually check how you're doing. This is what it should look like. Okay? That's the side view. If somehow, so let me do one that's a bit wonky. Let's say I did this next one and so I'm going to do the first yarn over, pull through. And let's say I somehow forgot the next yarn over and I just kept pulling through, pulled through everything. All right. I'm going to make that loop bigger now so I don't lose where I am. Can you see how that looks different? So you can kind of see in between these, there's a little, so the top always has these V stitches, right? The side, however, on the single crochet, you can see there's a little bit of height to it. There's this stuff in between. The one I just did where I didn't do that second yarn over just looks like 2 V stitches laying on top of each other here. It doesn't look the same as the one next to it. So that tells me visually that I did that stitch incorrectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull gently and undo that stitch. When it's undone, you'll have the little loop at the top. I'm going to pull the little loop to make it big enough for my crochet hook to go back into. I'm going to put my crochet hook through the loop, tighten it up just a smidge, and carry on. through the V, pull down the top, pull it back a bit, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. There we go. I'm going to carry on till I'm at the very end. Hopefully a little bit faster, but we'll see. Feel free to pause the video. Yarn over, pull through the first two, yarn over, pull through the next two. Undo the V-stitch, pull it back a bit, yarn over, pull through the V, yarn over, pull through the last two loops on the hook. Sometimes your chain will get turned and you'll look at it and say like, well, that doesn't look right. Correct? That's a little bump on the back, right? That's not the top V that we're shooting for. When you see that, physically turn it so you can see the V again. Here's the next V. When you're doing a crochet project and you're just starting out, you're going to make mistakes. It happens. Be mentally prepared to undo your work. Okay? I've done a lot of projects where I'd get, oh, did you see that? I pulled it through and I pulled too tightly and it slid right back off. That's okay. We're going to go right back in, go under our V, pull this back, pull through, there we go, pull through. And remember, this is going to be the hardest row of single crochet stitches you will ever do in your life for a couple of reasons. Number one, this is the first time you've tried it. Number two, you're working into the foundation chain. Every time you work into the foundation chain, that's the hardest row of stitches for the project. After that, it's much easier because working into a single crochet is much easier than working into a chain stitch. And right now we are doing single crochets into the foundation chain, a chain stitch. Look at that. Do you see how that's caught on there? I'm going to back a little bit and see if I can figure out what that's coming from. There we go. Got it. If it goes wonky, pull it out and try again. Undo the stitch. And take your crochet hook out completely and pull out that stitch. You don't want to do shoddy workmanship at the beginning of your project, and then you will improve as the project continues, and then 20 hours later into a project just say, oh, well, this is lovely, but that second row of stitches, I didn't care for it. I don't like the project. Better to do this a few times, practice it, undo it, do it again, until you get something that you are satisfied with. Doesn't have to be perfect, just the level that you're satisfied with for a first project. There's no need to get upset. You are going to get upset. I can't stop that. There's no need to get upset. Know that everybody that's learning a new skill will develop that skill with practice and time and patience. Consider this, if you will, a mindfulness activity, especially as you're starting out. You can consider it an intellectual exercise, mindfulness, perseverance. I'm getting towards the end. There's 2 more V-stitches here and then a little knot. It's that slip knot we created at the beginning. All right, last V-stitch. And turn it to the side. Because I believe, yep, there's an itty bitty little piece of yarn that went rogue on me right there. And I'm going to flick it back underneath my hook because I don't want that to be a part. It's a part of the bottom bump, and I don't need it to be a part of my crochet stitch. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Now I'm going to pull this, now that I'm at the end, I'm going to pull this a little bit. And since I'm a beginner, I'm going to put this little stitch marker here so I can't accidentally undo my work. Okay? And I did lock it. Sometimes you'll think to yourself, I don't need to lock that. It'll be fine, and you'll just leave it unlocked. And sometimes it is fine, and other times you'll accidentally pull it off and it completely defeats the purpose. So I'm locking it. Now, for this project, it doesn't matter terribly much, but it's a good practice to get into when you're starting reading patterns. Checking that you didn't miss a stitch or that you didn't do 2 stitches twice or something like that. So, do you remember on the foundation chain we counted to 20? Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Excellent. If I would have counted and had 18 or 23 or 22 or even 21, I would look at it, see if anything looks uneven. Let's say I missed a stitch here and it would have a hole. I would take this stitch marker off and I would pull the long string until I undid the stitches back to where I found the hole and start again from there. Or if you notice that you've kept 2 stitches in a place and it's bowed out and you notice, oh, that doesn't look like the others. Go back, pull it out, pull out the number of stitches you need to take out the extra, and then start again from there. This is row 2. You have completed row 2. All right, you have completed row 2. And on row 2, you did 20 single crochet. And I didn't write it here, but we did do a +1 for the height, remember, at the end? Let's do that again here. +1. And since there's nothing for us to single crochet into, I mean, we've used up all our V's, we have to do a chain stitch for the +1. So +1 chain. All right, so let's do the chain stitch. I'm going to make this loop a little bigger. Release it. Stick my crochet hook through it. Snug it up a little. And I'm holding what we've got. Yarn over. Pull through. That's it for a chain. Now, how can we proceed? We have nowhere further we can go on the left. So what we're going to do now is called turning. And in order to turn, I'm going to let go of all this, make it all pretty. Okay, this is what we've got. We've got our chain, we've got our loose yarn, we've got our hook. In order to turn, grab a hold of this. It has been turned. I know. It has been turned. Now, you'll notice my hook fell out of that. That's fine. I can put it back in. It's back in. I've got my row of stitches done. I've got my loose thread, and I've got my long thread. I like to get this loose thread out of the way. I'm going to go and tuck it down on my right hand. So what you can see is that now, and it's ready to go.